Howdy, everyone. Tad Stevens on the Micro Success Secrets podcast, where we focus on business, psychology, and marketing, and how you can use that in your business daily and long term. Today, I'm talking with David Rankine. David, introduce yourself a little bit and let us know a little bit about you and your business and about what you're doing.
Okay, well, thanks, Ted. So, my company is Professional Prospecting Systems, and we've been in business for 23 years. And we are sort of an end-to-end B2B marketing operation. And over the years, we've done everything from B2B telemarketing, email, videos, LinkedIn, Facebook, you name it. And I have worked with probably 15 or 20 accountants and CPAs over the years. Amongst those, I've had over 2,500 clients. And in the last 3 years, we've kind of morphed our situation over to where we're operating more as a fractional CMO team. So that would be fractional chief marketing officer. So it would mean that we work with a fewer number of clients on a much deeper level, to kind of really dig in and help them through the whole cycle of how to improve their sales and grow their business. So that's where I'm at.
All right, super. Well, appreciate you being here today. So let's jump right in. And first question I always like to ask everybody is if you could go back in time and you could pick one business or life decision that you would change, first of all, would you change it? Excuse me. Sorry, hang on. Wow, that's the first time that happened. Oh, I've done 40 of these. That's never happened before. I'll cut all this out. Okay. I'm going to clap 3 times. I'm going to go back to the question. Say the question again and go from there. Sorry about that. Whoa. If you could change one business or life decision, if you could go back in time and you could change one business or life decision, first off, would you change it? And if you would, what would you change it to?
Well, actually, it's apropos that I'm speaking to an audience of CPAs today, because the one life decision, the business decision that I would make is I would have gotten a lot more quickly focused on making my business a recurring revenue business. Okay, because I don't need to be a CPA to realize the advantage of that. And I think one of the mistakes that I made, we had a lot of recurring revenue over the years, but generally speaking, marketing is something that companies come along and they think, okay, we're going to do some marketing, we're going to do it for a period of time. Now, I've had clients as long as 10 years, but generally speaking, it's not a recurring revenue business. So for example, if I was a CPA, you generally keep the same client for years and years and years. And that's the decision. And I have reverted my business over to more of a recurring revenue model now, and that's the decision that I would have changed if I had to do it over again.
Okay, and that's important. I mean, recurring revenue. If you think about it, it's kind of compounding, or like compounding, in a way to me. You don't have to go out and sell every deal every day, because a lot of it is recurring. That's why it's a good thing. Okay, so thank you for that. And then kind of more specific is, what's the most effective and least effective marketing things that you've seen over the years, that you've done for you, that you've done for your clients? If you could just pick one, just an example or two, what's the most and the least?
It really depends on the client. So what I've learned the hard way, I guess you'd say, because like I say, we've done 10,000 marketing campaigns for over 2,500 clients, is you have to build a marketing program that fits your client. Okay. And taking CPAs as an example, generally speaking, CPAs and accountants are not sales and marketing oriented. They're not comfortable in that sort of role. Okay.
Yes. Right.
So when I look back on it, and I had many, quite a number as clients, the ones that where it was successful, they were comfortable, talking to prospects on the phone if we got them a lead or an appointment and so on. But I would say the majority of them, that wasn't really who they were. And so that was a mistake on our part, basically. So now, fast forward to the last couple of years, what we're always trying to do is to set the marketing system up so that we put our client in a comfortable position doing something that they're familiar with and they're comfortable with.
Okay, that is a super answer, because it is important. I mean, if the client's not happy, they're not happy. So with that many clients, and especially mentioning the process you just did, I mean, people get stuck. Clients don't always see the benefit of something that you know, or that in your experience you believe will be beneficial to them. When you get to that point in a relationship, or they just get stuck and they can't make a decision, do you have any tips or techniques that you use to help them get through that, to make those decisions, to move forward, move forward and to keep moving forward?
Also, you're talking about in the context, if I'm working with a client, or this is at the point at which before we're working together to try to decide whether to engage with me, or?
No. Say, for example, you have a campaign going and something comes up and you have to make a change. It can be a pretty substantial change. It's not something you foresaw, or even if it is, it may be something that the client is uncomfortable with. How do you help them get through that decision?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good one, because that happens a lot. And I'm heavily focused on numbers. So for example, before I engage with a client, we have an ROI projection spreadsheet.
Mm-hmm.
And we lay it out, and so we work backwards about what is the lifetime value of one average client or customer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then depending on which marketing pieces we're going to try to put in there, we make projections and say how many leads are going to come out, and what's our closing ratio, or what's our closing level expectation. Mm-hmm. So during the life of a campaign, okay, if I can see that things are still on track, because a lot of times, especially for, I'm going to call like a premium, more complex level service, like say accounting or
Mm-hmm.
CPA consulting, your prospects just don't shift gears on a dime and say, hey, I'm going to start working with you. It's a process that goes on over months, right?
Yeah, right.
So that's when it's really, really critical to go back to that original model and say, look, we said that we were only going to worry about getting X number over X number of months, because we can see how valuable your clients are, and we're still on track. We're only 30 days in, or we're only 60 days in.
Yeah.
Okay? And so that's basically how I would handle that.
Okay. So basically you solve the problem before it comes up. I mean, you anticipate, or it sounds like you've anticipated that. Yeah. And you've got a plan, and you look at the metrics and you work backwards from that, which is awesome, which I highly recommend planning it out like that for the listeners, campaigns, budgets, really just the way you approach things, because if you can't measure it to that level, you don't know. I mean, how do you know if it's working or not? And how do you know if you should still keep going? And you do. So super. Okay. So, if you had to, and this is kind of, it ties back to the first question, kind of rolls everything up. But if you had to start from scratch, say you moved to another state and they didn't have internet, or, something really weird, but you do have the knowledge, you do have the experience that you've got, what would you do different, if anything, than where you're at right now?
in terms of the way that I'm marketing my company or running my business.
Yeah. The way that you're approaching marketing and what you're doing. I mean, would you be doing this technique as opposed to that? Would you still use your same process? Would you still stick with numbers in developing campaigns and measuring metrics on the decision points, stuff like that we just talked about? But what would you do different, if anything?
At this stage of the game, I probably wouldn't do anything different because I've had the advantage of being in business for 23 years, and then for 15 years before that, I was running sales and marketing organizations. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and I the hard way I learned what works, right?
Exactly.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
that's what I'm doing now. So again, just to give you an example, what we're doing now for ourselves to market our own premium B2B consulting service, as well as our clients, is we're using workshops. We're using online workshops, right? And nothing has ever worked as well as that. So if you, in the example you gave me there, if I was plunked in an area that didn't have internet, hopefully after COVID-19,
yeah, they would get it. Yeah,
I would do a live workshop, right? If I didn't have the internet. Because the thing about workshops, and this is where it fits in for the CPAs as well too, webinars are one thing, and the webinars work, and you see a lot of marketing,
right?
One webinar
yeah,
coming at us. But the idea of going to a small workshop means it's going to be small, it's going to be interactive, and you're kind of going to be able to hear maybe what some of your peers have to say. So what we've found that there's a big attraction when we hold a workshop, for example, if we reach out to, let's say we were reach out to a group of CPAs, for example, and we'd say, hey, we're going to have a small workshop with less than 5 attendees with other CPAs. Well, that's kind of attractive on two levels. They think, okay, well, they must have something because other CPAs are going to this thing. But I'd kind of like to hear about the struggles of, other CPAs in other cities and things like that. And that's so, or if I reverse that around, let's say I was doing that type of a campaign for a CPA who deals with, say, small business owners. Okay. And so we would reach out to a list of small business owners and ask them to attend this workshop. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's a million different topics that a CPA basically would be comfortable talking about to small business owners. So you end up getting, actually found that we get a 10 times higher response than we would if we said, hey, just book a meeting on my calendar, a one-to-one meeting. Okay?
Right.
I guess it's just the idea that, hey, I'll misery loves company. I'll go kind of sit in with some of these other business owners in this workshop and see what they're struggling with and things like that. And it works. The other thing it does is it puts the client in a comfortable position. Okay, you're not comfortable with a webinar with 200 people, and you'd never get that anyways.
Right.
In these workshops, for example, you might only get 2-3 people that actually show up, and that's perfectly okay. Right? It's just kind of like a small little group discussion, and you get to have some interaction with them and some back and forth. So that is the methodology that has been working like phenomenally well for my company. And that's what I'm recommending to all of my clients now, okay? Because it works so well. Like, for example,
that is awesome. Thank you for that. A question came to mind: is do you charge for them at all? Are they free? Do you have?
The initial workshop is free. There's varying, trains of thought on that, but I kind of like to have the initial workshop to be kind of a proving ground. And what we're finding is it naturally flows into sales engagements. So you start to talk to a prospect, and generally speaking, you can give a certain amount of attention to each one, but somebody always wants to go deeper. Well, that's a natural lead into let's get on a separate call. Okay. And it just naturally flows from there. And it's sure as heck worked for us, and I know that it will work for anybody, and it works best for what I call somebody who is selling their knowledge or their advice. Okay. And where it's sort of a difficult level of sale where the client isn't the prospect isn't so inclined to just switch gears. And for something like, when you hire a CPA, you feel like you're in there for life, right?
Yeah, one of those.
So it's not easy to, but that gives you a vehicle, because if you put a workshop on, let's say you're a CPA, and you put a workshop on topics that your CPA is, or maybe you don't have maybe you just have a bookkeeper or whatever, is not talking to you about, and you realize, okay, there's a different level that we can approach our business at. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we're learning that. Well, that gives you an opportunity as a CPA to demonstrate your value to them. And then maybe it won't happen instantly, but now you're on their radar screen, right? So now if you communicate with them with a newsletter, plus you can have other workshops over time that you would give them, and you start to develop a relationship with them in a way that's natural to you, right? Because you're just talking about things that you're comfortable with.
Okay, that is awesome advice, and I'll ask you in just a second to provide some contact information in case somebody wants to get a hold of you. But that would, I mean, that is some of the most awesome advice that I have heard here about what things are working today, and we're working really, really well. So David, really appreciate it. Thank you very much for sharing your time. Do you have anything you would like to close with? And also your contact information, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, or any offers that you have that would benefit the listeners or viewers.
If they want to get a hold of me, I'm on LinkedIn, David Rankine, Rankine. You'll probably recognize my profile with all the stuff I've been talking about. My website is professionalprospecting.com.
Okay.
And in terms of offers, right now we're offering a complete end-to-end marketing system that we put in place for what we're calling a premium B2B consultant, and CPAs certainly fall into that category, where we will build the list, we will create the content, we will send out email invitations to your workshop, we'll even help you develop the workshop content. And basically all you have to do is show up on the workshop and kind of do your thing, right? And we'll even give you samples of how we run workshops or how other people run workshops, so you can kind of get the feel for it when you go in there. And so that that program is available right now with a full guarantee. So the fee is $1,000 to set up, and then $1,000 a month for 3 months. And at the end of that, if you haven't obtained at least $4,000 worth of business, we will refund the difference to you.
That is awesome. That is excellent. Thank you very much. I'll make sure all of that is in the show notes and in the description, any place that we post the audio or video. Thanks again. Really appreciate your time. Thanks everybody for listening in. Have a safe and productive week, and be the very, very best at whatever you are doing. Until next time, this is Tad Stevens with Micro Success Secrets. Bye for now.
Thanks. Thank you very much.